What the heck is that thing? It's a pink Death Stinger, for Christ's sake. Welcome back to Let's Play Zoids vs. III. So, I don't know if this pink Death Stinger actually has a different name. I assume it does. I've not been able to find the way to actually play as it yet. It may be unlocked in the Versus mode now that I've done enough of the game to unlock it. Such as in Battle Legends, how we unlock the Death Sword and all those other Zoids in the Versus mode after defeating them in the campaign and so on. But obviously they're not going to be able to be used in tournament mode. They're basically just for fun because they're the boss Zoids. So going into combat against this thing, we're going to be demonstrating the Blitz Tiger as per viewer request. And the Blitz Tiger is definitely a interesting Zoid design-wise. I've talked about it a lot not a lot, but I've talked about it a fair bit in Battle Legends, how it's one of the strangest looking Zoids I've ever seen. The Blitz Tiger was heavily featured in Zoids Saga and Zoids Legacy. And it's very big, it's very large for a tiger-type Zoid. I'm not sure if it's actually, I'm trying to do my research on it, but I'm not really sure if it's part of the Three Tigers trilogy, and I'll be talking about the other two later on. But I don't think it is. I think it's just kind of its own thing. But we saw it briefly in Battle Legends. It has this ridiculous melee attack. For some reason, I'm not taking a whole lot of damage from the Death Stinger, only mainly because I'm mainly taking damage just from being knocked back by colliding with it. That's one of the physics things that happens with the boss Zoids. I'm getting hung up on buildings over here. The Blitz Tiger has only a few different weapon slots, one of which is for this bolt cannon here. It's very similar to how the Liger 0X has the cannon that folds forward and then turns into the blades on the side. It's the same thing with the electro driver that the 0X has. Actually somehow able to do some damage by meleeing it. This is getting kind of bad though. I keep getting staggered here even though I'm not taking a lot of damage from it, or any damage really. So the other weapon is obviously the blades, as I talked about, which are pretty good. This thing also has a very good melee attack where it does this ridiculous like torpedo spin in midair. And then the third weapon I actually had to buy for it, which was anti-Zoid handguns that kind of come out on the side, which are honestly not that powerful at all. This thing really does kind of lack in weaponry. The bolt cannon is pretty powerful, but the rate of fire and the speed of the projectile moves at is pretty bad. So overall, the Blitz Tiger is pretty good. It has great boosters. It's very big for its type though, and it's a bit excessively large. So I would not really recommend it over something like the Koenig Wolf, especially for its price. But it's definitely nice enough. I'll be using it quite a bit here in the upcoming tournament. Ooh, dang, we got an S rank for that. I didn't think we would be that good. I guess our partner didn't take any damage, and we barely took any damage either. So, as much as I wasn't crazy about the Blitz Tiger, we did pretty good, all things considered. Alright, so now moving on, we were fighting Athel and Regina, I guess that's how we say their names, in their respective Trinity Liger and Koenig Wolf. And this is going to be an interesting fight. It's pretty much the same as it was in Battle Legends. At least I think this was the combination of two Zoids that they used. I know we did fight the, yeah, we had to have fought the Trinity Liger and the Koenig Wolf at the same time. So this is the same fight, just a different map. This is the enclosed arena map in like the first battle in New Century Zero. I feel like this is a reference to the battle arena thing from Fusors at the beginning. This is what it feels like to me, and there's a battle later on that reminds me of that more so. So we're going to be using the Blitz Tiger again for this, just to show how fast this thing is with the boosters as well. It's ridiculous. The Trinity Liger I demonstrated a bit in the previous game. I may get it again here in this game just for the sake of having it, see if it has any tweaks from the previous game, if they've modified it any. I really don't think they have. I'm not crazy about it design-wise or gameplay-wise. It does have some nice aspects to it, but I'd rather spend the money on demonstrating some new Zoids, because there's a lot of really expensive high-tier Zoids in this game I've got to buy by the end of the game to demonstrate, so that requires a lot of grinding. So the Trinity Liger may not be on the list unless anybody really wants to see it. Ultimately, its biggest flaw is that it doesn't really have any weapons that really justify its price. The best thing you can really get for it is, well, attack boosters. And at that rate, just have the Blade Liger. It's a no-brainer, really. So, this is a stock Koenig Wolf, but for some reason it has the missile pods that the Koenig Wolf Mark II has for some reason, which they normally do not do in tournament mode. In tournament mode, Zoids are strictly stock. Only in the campaign do they do ridiculous things like being allowed to have more health than they actually have, and being allowed to have ridiculous weapon specifications that the game just decides it wants to have, which I wish there was more opportunity for that, more opportunity for the enemy to have customized Zoids so you can fight against different possibilities of Zoids instead of just fighting everything stock. But obviously there's much more opponents in tournament mode than there is in the campaign. Well, as far as different battles go, there's more enemies per encounter in the campaign, but got a lot of points for that. Yeah, having my partner on the Iron Kong is definitely a good idea, though. Blitz Tiger's got some good health. Not as good as the Koenig Wolf, though. Alright, now we're up against the antagonists from Zoids Saga, Blood and Flam, as they're referred to as, which is very strange names indeed. They have the Geno Hydra and a Redler, which is the type of flying Zoid that she has there. So I may have mistakenly referred to that as a different name earlier. But yeah, that's the Redler. We'll be seeing the... Oh, it was Reynos. I accidentally referred to it as the Reynos. The Reynos is a different type of flying Zoid, which we may or may not see in this game. I'm actually not sure if it's here or not. But the Redler I will be showing off on screen later on. So, as per viewer request, the Zoid we're going to be using for this is the Berserk Fury, which is a dinosaur-like Zoid, very similar to the Genosaur. I demonstrated it in the previous game. Most of you know what the Berserk Fury is if you watch Zoid Century Zero, or Fusors for that matter. It sort of became the rival to the Liger Zero, and the two of them clashed in both series. I didn't really care for this Zoid too much. I usually don't care for the dinosaur types all that much because of the way they maneuver. They're incredibly overpowered in the anime, but they don't really seem to be that good in the game. Now, granted, I am kind of, I'm really growing fond of the Berserk Fury in this game, mainly because it has homing projectiles as its primary weapon. I didn't equip any other weapons on it. It has a ton of ammo for this weapon. It deals a ton of damage, and it's actually able to intercept this Redler pretty easily. It's got pretty fast boosters. We're going to go ahead and open up on the Geno Hydra here and have ourselves a good old-fashioned Godzilla death battle. And it's going to be great. The melee attack on the Berserk Fury, though, is really what makes it good, because just like the Genosaurs and all that, of course, my partner gets in the way like they always do. But not only does it deal a ton of damage, but it lasts a very long time. It's hard to get out of, so other damage can affect the Zoid while we're meleeing it. Man, you're always getting in my way. Anyway. Yeah, see, that was a ton of damage. It just took forever for the hit combo to end. They can't interrupt it while we're doing it though, so it's all right. But yeah, it just deals a ton of damage. So much for the Geno Hydra. I demonstrated the Geno Hydra just a little bit in Battle Legends. I don't really have much to say about it here, other than that was a pretty fitting opponent for it to have the Berserk Fury take it on. I think I had my ally on the Berserk Fury more than a few times during some of the campaigns, or some of the tournament modes in Battle Legends, but for this game I think I'm just going to use it a couple of times and keep my ally on the Iron Kong for that 4200 health bonus. Alright, now we're up against Zeru and Juno and their respective Blitz Tiger and Storm Sworder. So, even if I hadn't used these Zoids earlier in this tournament, I would be fighting against them now. I'm going to stay on the Berserk Fury for now, just because I want to be able to intercept that Storm Sworder using the homing projectiles on the primary weapon there. As for the Blitz Tiger, I really don't have a strategy as for how to take it out with the Berserk Fury, aside from just, you know, sheer power with its melee attack there. And maybe I'll get a reminder as to how much health the Blitz Tiger has, because I did forget. I know it's not 3,000 though, so we are still more powerful, and then again, like I said, I wasn't getting as much points using the Blitz Tiger as I was with the Koenig Wolf. So I think the Blitz Tiger probably has 2,800, but we'll see what it says here. Yeah, the Storm Sword is being quite a pain in the butt here. At least they were nice enough to give the flying Zoids not an obscene amount of health. Most of them, if not all of them, are pretty easy to take out. It's just getting a good couple of hits on them is the thing. They also don't resist damage very well, so they can take like 300 or 400 damage per shot sometimes with a particular weapon. And for some reason my weapon is shooting upward, which is not helping us hit this thing at all. Again, my partner getting in the way like that. I should just kill her out of spite at this rate. This is getting ridiculous. There we go. So the if you guys want to, I'm tempted to buy it. If you guys want to see it, the Fusor for where the Berserk Fury combines with the Buster Eagle is playable in this game, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that just goes to show you, and I'll probably mention this again, what a ridiculously stupid concept Zoids Fusors was, because it's like, yeah, the Berserk Fury's cool, right? It was the antagonist of the last season. Let's strap an eagle to its back and make it fly. It's ridiculous. But, yeah, it is pretty powerful. Basically, it's the exact same thing as the regular Berserk Fury, except it has the Buster Eagle cannons, which are immensely powerful, as we demonstrated with the, as we demonstrated in the last game, and as we demonstrated with the, Gojulus Giga. And there's other Fusor Zoids I'll demonstrate as well. Also, the Storm Tyrant and Storm, Fury. Those Zoids, if you guys really want to see them, I may decide to show them off as well. Alright, time for the boss battles. Now we're going up against the Seismosaurus, which is like the Ultrasaurus, except not quite as overpowered. We won't have nearly as hard of a time with the Seismosaurus as we do with the Ultrasaurus. It does have some finicky weapons, but I should be able to take it out just fine using the... Oh, wow, I was totally wrong. The Blitz Tiger has 3,300 health. Okay, maybe it's tougher than I thought. It was definitely worth a lot of money. I think it cost like 120,000 to unlock, which is still not nearly as much as the, still not nearly as much as like the Liger Zero Phoenix or anything like that. And there's multiple Zoids in this game, more than just the two unlockable ones that cost more than 200,000. But the Berserk Fury and the Koenig Wolf are only 90,000 respectively, and those I feel like are pretty competent on their own. So, you know, more expensive isn't necessarily better. So the Seismosaurus is in Zoids Fusors. I didn't mention this in the. I was a little confused during the early parts of the Battle Legends Let's Play as to what the origin of the Seismosaurus was. But yeah, it's from Fusors, and it comes into it during the last arc, which I never saw because the show got canceled, obviously. So we never really got to see that here in the US, but it's available in Japanese. And it's basically like the Ultrasaurus, except it doesn't have those giant cannons on it. It's not quite as big as the Ultrasaurus. I don't know how accurate the scale is on this fight compared to the Ultrasaurus fight, because obviously the Ultrasaurus is the size of an aircraft carrier compared to a fighter jet, essentially, as far as scale goes. But they scaled everything down for the game, of course, to make the Zoids actually be able to fit together in the same space. But I don't think the Seismosaurus was ever that big. But it does have a charged particle beam, so it is closer to the Death Soarer in that sense. It also has a more organic dinosaur-looking look to it. It has a more dinosaur-like head and jaw. It doesn't have that ridiculous, very 1980s Zoid series cockpit look like the Ultrasaurus had. Let's see if we can finish it off with a blade attack. How about that? That's one of the nasty attacks the Seismosaurus has, those cannons that fire in all directions like that. But there's a demonstration of the melee attack there from the Blitz Tiger that sweeps in that cone-like shape almost. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's effective. It's powerful. It gets it from point A to point B faster. Yeah, that was pretty lackluster, honestly. The Seismosaurus is just not nearly as tough as the Ultrasaurus, though. The Ultrasaurus really gave me a run for my money in this game. But the Seismosaurus, not too difficult. I managed to defeat the Seismosaurus with a very interesting setup in Battle Legends, and there's several times we fought it, but one of the times we fought it, I was using that Dark Horn with all his weapons attached to it. Alright, so the obvious final battle is against Guard and the Bloody Death Soarer. So, the Bloody Death Sword, basically the origin of that is, it doesn't really have any story significance. They just kind of shoehorned it into the story for Zoids Saga and for Battle Legends. But basically I may have to switch back over to the Koenig Wolf just because I need the maneuverability and damage from the, and also need a consistent rate of fire that I'm used to in order to dodge the Bloody Death Sword effectively. But the Bloody Death Sword was basically just a limited edition print run of the Death Sword model kit, which has remained unchanged since 1983, mind you. I think there's a Masterpiece Death Sword, or a Kotobukiya Death Sword. But other than that, every single Takara Tomy release has been exactly the same since the original 1980 version, which is true with a lot of Zoids, actually. But, you know, when the anime came along, all those were exactly the same. And even the Bloody Death Sword, which is just a recolor, has just been recolored. That's it, that's the only difference. It's quite a nice color scheme, actually. I've become more fond of it. It's just, again, just a slightly tougher version of the Death Sword with different stats. It's nothing we didn't fight previously in the Chaotic Century tournament. I think for some reason he can take enough damage to where he staggers and he gets stuck in that animation where he's fighting the charged particle beam with his mouth open like that, but for some reason he starts spinning around. Maybe it's a glitch. It could quite possibly be a glitch. But the Death Sword is always a tough fight no matter what. I mean, there's definitely some things we gotta look out for. Like I said, there's several weapons. It has the weapons on its abdomen there, the gun on its head, that stomp attack there. And this really is a good fight for getting a good example of how the enemies in this game cycle their weapons. So you can get the timing down and that kind of thing. And it's only really something you need to worry about with bigger Zoids like this. And even some of the non-boss Zoids that are pretty big, like the Gojulus Giga, almost forgot its name again. If you can watch for when it cycles back to the Buster Eagle cannon, you can dodge it pretty effectively, but getting hit by that thing is pretty much ending the fight right there because that thing is so powerful. Speaking of ending the fight, this thing is almost dead. Oops, I took some damage there. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, I wouldn't really want to try this with the Blitz Tiger, mainly because of the rate of fire and the speed of the projectile with the weapon. It's just not something I'm used to. I don't know how to pattern it well. As far as health and speed goes, the Blitz Tiger is more than competent to take this thing on. One thing I do have to say, I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get to see Mad Thunder in this tournament. If we did, there would have been 4 boss enemies in it. Of course, there were 3 bosses in the Chaotic Century tournament as well, but there were no boss enemies like this in the New Century Zero one, just because of the way the New Century Zero was. But that's why I did that one first, because it's arguably the easiest. Alright, so we finished the Saga Tournament, or the Battle Story Tournament. So if you guys want to see any more Zoids showing off, then go ahead and let me know now, because I'm going to be grinding and getting enough money for them, and we're going to be moving on to the main story mode for the game, which I'll be demonstrating a lot more Zoids during that. And that's going to be the majority of the rest of this Let's Play. So you guys stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next time.